Welcome to Caretha's Culinary Creations, otherwise known as the C Spot. I am Caretha Coulter. I've been to culinary school at the Cordon Bleu Dallas and the Cordon Bleu Scottsdale, Arizona. I am a graduate with a culinary degree. I currently am working in a pastry business, but my passion is to teach folk how to cook. So come along and join with me as I take you on this food journey, and we learn to cook together, and we eat together, and we learn to just enjoy each other. A lot of the things that I do on the C Spot are bariatric friendly. Some can call them keto, some are paleo, some vegetarian, because I do like vegetarian food as well. But all of it's flavorful and good. I like a wide variety of foods. I believe life is too short not to eat what you want, but you need to eat it in moderation. So we do a lot of portion control foods here. So again, come with me, enjoy this journey, and let's cook together. The meal we're going to do today is we're going to do chicken pot pies, miniature version. So you can freeze them if they're for your portions. You freeze the extra portions, sorry. And then we're also going to do garlic butter green beans, and we're going to do a cheesecake mousse. The ingredients are for your crust are going to be 1 cup of almond flour, a half cup of coconut flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme, 2 large eggs, 3 cups of mozzarella cheese, and 10 tablespoons of butter. Now, that makes a whole lot. So if you are into portion control like I am, because I've had bariatric surgery, then I cut that in half. When I cut that recipe in half, it makes about six pot pies, miniature pot pies. And we're going to use your muffin tin in order to cook those. Muffin tin, muffin cups. You can make the whole version, make a big old pie if you want to. So this recipe is scalable to whatever fits your needs. I'm going to cook it to what fits my needs. And the barking you hear in the back is my dog, so I apologize. She's outside. So we're going to make this version, but I'm going to make the smaller portion, which is I'm going to cut everything in half. So I'm actually going to use a half a cup of almond flour, a 1/4 cup of coconut flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, an 1/8 teaspoon of salt or pinch, an 1/8 teaspoon of dried thyme, 1 egg, 5 tablespoons of butter, and 1.5 cups of mozzarella. I've got all that mise en place down here. It's all measured out and ready. We're going to microwave our butter and our mozzarella for about 30 seconds at a time. It's usually going to take about 1.5 minutes for it to all melt. We're going to get it melted together. Then we're going to add our flour mixture. We're going to add our beaten egg. And that's going to make our crust. We're going to roll it out on some parchment paper or Silpat, whichever one you have. And we're going to put it into our muffin tins or our muffin cups. I'm going to use silicone muffin cups, and I'll show you those in a minute. And that's what we're going to make our crust out of. We're going to give it a mix, and then we're going to put it back in for 30 more seconds. So we want the butter to be melted, we want the cheese to be melted, and everything to be mixed together real nice. I like these silicone muffin cups because they're less mess. And I will tell you the truth, when I used the muffin tin to test this recipe, I actually forgot to oil the muffin tin, oil it, grease it, spray it, whichever one you want to call it. I couldn't get them out. They tasted delicious. They were wonderful. Couldn't get them out. So I like to cheat, and I'm going to use the silicone muffin tins. For those of you following a keto diet, this is known as a fathead dough. You can Google and research the creators of that fathead dough. I will never take credit for anybody else's recipe. This is just my rendition of it that I like best. I'm not a coconut flour fan. I'm not a coconut fan. But I would tell you that I like this recipe for the simple reason that I don't taste the coconut. This is the part where stirring might get a little bit challenging. But I will tell you that it comes together. I'm going to stir the flour in first because my cheese is still kind of hot and I don't want scrambled eggs in the dough. So I'm going to use this time to get this. Now I have seen this done in a food processor. I've seen it done with a mixer. I'm not messing up another piece of equipment if I don't have to. Not everybody has those equipment, but everybody has a bowl, a spoon, and some elbow grease. So we're just going to let this come together. I'll mix this till it comes together. And then I'm going to let it sit for about 30 seconds. And then we're going to come out and we're going to put them in our muffin cups. Now I'm going to cook the muffin cups on a regular sheet pan. And they're going to be in the oven for maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. Just so we can get them pre-cooked. And that's because you're using a non-gluten flour, almond flour, that's nut flour, and it does not have the same makeup as your regular flour, and that will mean that you have to treat it a little bit differently. And that is well mixed in. So we're going to let that set for about 30 seconds, and while we'll do that, I'll get set up in order to roll this out for you. Okay, welcome to the wonderful world of Seal-Pak. If you don't have one, get one. Costco sells them in a 3-pack. And you can also get them from stores like Surlatab, Walmart, Target. Any of those stores will also sell those as well. So we're going to, if anybody's ever rolled out pie crust, you can also do this with Pillsbury pre-made pie crust or any pre-made pie crust that you can get out of your grocery refrigerated section. You can also use biscuits. You're just going to roll the biscuits out flat, the individual biscuits out flat, and you put it into your muffin tin or in your silicone muffin cup, and you'll do it the same way. So if you don't have to pre-bake those don't require pre-baking because it's made from a glutinous flour rather. All right, so we're just going to roll this out. If you don't have a rolling pin, do not panic. You can use any canned vegetable, canned milk, bottle of wine, bottle of olive oil. All that can be used in order to roll this out flat. You can also pat it out with your hand. This dough is really forgiving and easy to work with. I'm going to roll it out to about 1/8 of an inch thick. And no, mine is not straight and mine not completely round. I know it. It's all good. All right, so I'm going to use a cookie cutter in order to cut out my shapes. If you don't have a cookie cutter, there are all kinds of alternatives. Don't freak out. Use a glass. You can use the lid to a canning jar. Whatever you have, use. You can even cut it out with a knife or pastry cutter. All right, so I am going to make my rounds. Stretch it out just a little bit. You're going to take your muffin cup or your muffin tin, whichever one you're using. And remember, this requires a top piece, so you're going to do your bottom first, and I'm just going to press it in. If I make a hole, I'm just going to use my fingers and press it in together to close up the hole. And there you are. So you're going to do that for your remaining cups or tins. Whichever apparatus you're using. See? I'm going to finish out the rest of these, and then I'll be back when I put them in the oven. All right, so we've got the shells, the pie shells into the oven, and they're going to bake off for about 5 to 10 minutes. And we're not cooking them completely through. We're just going to do it for about 5 to 10 minutes in order to get them at a certain crispness. That way, when you put the filling in, it can finish cooking off, and it'll all be done at the same time. So we're going to start on our filling, and our filling is going to be I've got some chopped up chicken. I chose chicken thighs. So I've got I baked off 2 chicken thighs this morning, and I've chopped them up. I deboned them and chopped them up. So that's my chicken. I've got some onions and celery. We're going to do a little garlic. I'm using mixed vegetables because this is what I have on hand. And we're going to make our filling with Quest. And this is a protein powder, and it's used for baking. It has no flavor, so you won't have to worry about flavor at all. And we're going to make a roux with that, so we're going to use a little avocado oil to make the roux. You can use avocado oil, you can use coconut oil, you can use regular vegetable oil, you can use olive oil, or you can use butter. Either one, whatever fat is your choice. I'm going to use a mixture between the avocado oil and the butter to give it flavor. So we're going to do that on the stove, and I'm going to show you how it thickens up and all that kind of stuff. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so what we're going to do, I've got a little butter, about a tablespoon, and I've got about a tablespoon of the avocado oil, and I am going to soften the celery and onions here. And I elected to use garlic powder instead of fresh garlic this time around, and that's just out of my convenience. We're going to sprinkle about a half of a scoop of your protein powder, and that's going to be your thickener. And we're also going to use maybe like about 2 to 3 tablespoons of cream, heavy whipping cream. We're not going to go for color in this roux. If we were cooking anything else, we usually want to go to a darker color of the roux. The darker the roux, the more flavor you have, the darker the final product. The blonde of the roux, still flavor that you still have flavor, but you'll have a lighter product. Monitor your heat because you're not trying to go for brownness of the onion. We're going to add our cream. We're going to add our seasoning. Everything needs seasoning. Food without seasoning is bland. We don't like bland food. When you are a bariatric patient, food is your friend and your enemy. Flavor is what you go for more than anything. So we like to have things with flavor. So we're going to add our vegetables. I'll let that come in. We're going to go ahead and add our chicken. And it's thickening up quick, so I'm probably going to have to add just a little bit of liquid to this. Now, at this point, you can add more cream. You can add some water. You can add some vegetable stock or some chicken stock. And by the way, you don't have to make this a chicken pot pie. You can make this a vegetable pot pie as well. All you have to do is just leave out the chicken. And and add you more veggies, and you've got a wonderful veggie pot pie. This is the same mix. I just had it in the fridge. We're going to add that and get everything up to temp. See how quick that thickened up? Using that protein powder comes in handy. I also use that as a coating for my fried chicken. And it's a wonderful coating for my air fried chicken as well. So that protein powder works wonderful because it's no flavor. So you add all the flavor to it. All right. We are there. We are thick. We are flavorful. And we're ready to go. So at this point, we're going to let this cool to about room temperature. And then we're going to scoop it into our crust. Put our top layer on our crust. And then we'll be ready to go back in the oven. Okay, while we're waiting for the chicken filling to cool down, we're going to start our garlic butter green beans. So I've got a pot of water that I've seasoned with some salt. We're going to bring that water to a boil. Bring that water to a boil. We've got green beans. I've got fresh garlic and garlic powder. We're going to use a combination of the two. And we're going to melt some butter with a little avocado oil. Put in your garlic. Add a little salt to it, maybe a little pepper, maybe a little white pepper, and make a nice sauce for that. And then we're going to toss your green beans into that sauce. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our green beans and we're going to do a blanch on them. So we're going to get this water to a boil. We're going to put the green beans in the water for about 2 minutes, and then we're going to take it out. We're going to shock it in some cold water. That's going to retain our color and add and make sure that they're going to stay crisp. I want them al dente, which means I want a little bite to them. I don't want them to be mushy, so that's what we're going for. And then after we do that, then we'll be ready to go, and we'll move on to the cheesecake mousse. So what we'll do now is I have and that's hot. I have the pot pies out of the oven, the pie crust, and we're going to fill the pie crust and then top them and get them ready to go back in the oven. So now that your chicken is about room temperature, I like to cheat, and I'm going to use a scoop, and I'm just going to scoop the filling into the pie crust. And it looks like I'm going to have more filling than pie crust. And if this happens with you, what you can do with that leftover filling, cauliflower rice, and add it on top of some cauliflower rice. You can make more crust if you want. You can make some of those cheddar biscuits and put them on top of the cheddar biscuits. All right, so we have our crust filled. Now we're going to top them. I've got the tops in the microwave because they were getting a little too stiff. So I'm going to lighten them up just a little bit. So I'm 10 seconds in the microwave. So anytime your raw fathead dough becomes too stiff, you can just stick it in the microwave for a couple of seconds, and then it'll loosen it up, and then you're ready to mold it again. So we're just gonna put these on top so that we cover all of our topping and attach it to that bottom crust. Does not have to be pretty unless you're making these for somebody else. Just remember that you're going to eat this, and we eat with our eyes, so you want this to be aesthetically pretty for you. We've got our water getting ready to go to a boil, and I keep touching hot things on the stove like it's not hot. We're going to cut some vent holes in the crust. I'm going to do about 3 of each one. I'll show you that in a second. And we're going to do that just because we want that steam to vent out so you don't have a big bubble. And then we're going to do our egg wash on top of the crust as well. And what I like to do is if I egg wash the top, I'll put a little, I'll sprinkle a little salt and pepper on there. Our water is boiling, which is a great thing. Now you're going to see how cooks multitask in the kitchen, because we're going to do two things at once. We're going to cut these vent holes. And then we're going to put these green beans in this pot. Remember, this is salted water. And we're going to give them about 2 to 3 minutes in that salted water. Meanwhile, we're going to take an egg wash to the crust, sprinkle a little salt and pepper on there, and we're going to put it back in the oven for about 15 minutes. So I know some of you are asking, Caretha, what is an egg wash? It's exactly what it says it is. That was a hard egg. It's an egg with a little bit of water. Egg, a little bit of water. I'm going to scramble it up. This adds an extra layer of flavor, but it also will add color and help it to brown. Can you omit this stage? Yeah, you can. I wouldn't, but you can. We're going to sprinkle some salt on the top. As well as a little black pepper. Again, it's all about flavor. And now we're ready for these to go back in the oven. 350 degrees, 15 minutes. Meanwhile, our green beans are about ready to come out, so we're gonna get our water ready. And we're gonna shock these green beans. So I'm gonna pull them right out of this hot water into the cold water. See how pretty and green they are? I believe in one pot dishes. So I'm going to pour out this water and then we're going to start our sauce. So in our pan, I'm going to add a tablespoon of butter. A little bit of avocado oil. We're going to let that melt together. We have a wonderful garlic press. Have to love these. Just throw the garlic in there. You don't have to peel it. And you squeeze. And it all comes out. What was in my hand? That was pepper. Now, cleaning the garlic press, it's not fun. But using the garlic press, definitely fun. We don't want this to be at a high temperature, so I'm going to put it about at a medium-low. Because all we're going to do is we're going to melt this butter. Because our green beans are already cooked. And this is our sauce. Our green beans are already cooked. And all we're doing is we're doing melted butter with some garlic. I've got some pepper in there. I'm going to put a little bit of salt. That was 3 cloves of garlic. If you don't want to use fresh garlic, or you don't have any garlic cloves already crushed or minced, then by all means use some garlic powder. Whatever you have on hand. Once you have your butter melted, I turn off my heat. And now I'm going to take my green beans and we're going to put them in this pot. So they go from the pot to the water, from the water to the pot. And that's what I mean by 1 pot cooking. And then all we're going to do is just going to toss these around in that garlic butter. And I wish you were here or that you had smell-o-vision, because if you could smell how good this smells, you do what I'm getting ready to do and eat one out of the pot. At least that's what I want to do, but I'm not going to. And there are your green beans. Perfect for any side dish that you want to have. Or if you're vegetarian, it could be a main dish. A little tofu, you're ready to go. Garlic butter green beans. That took about, what, 5-10 minutes? And we're done. Can't get any better than that for a side dish. All right, we're back. And this time we're going to make our cheesecake mousse. So what we have here is 8 ounces of cream cheese. And it's softened to room temperature. We're going to use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. Now the sweetener, you're going to use the sweetener of your choice. You have powdered swerve. You have monk fruit, which is what I'm using today. As long as it's a powdered sweetener, because we're making this sugar-free. So this is bariatric friendly and keto friendly. Got some vanilla. I make my own vanilla. So I'm going to do just a little bit of vanilla. You want a measurement? It's about 2 teaspoons. Go. So we're going to mix until it's light and fluffy. This recipe takes literally maybe 5 minutes to put together. Alright, once you have it all nice and creamy, you're going to add your sweetener. I'm going to do about 3 tablespoons.
What kind of sweetener?
This is monk fruit. The brand name is Lakanto. I'm going to use 3 tablespoons. You can go up to 4 tablespoons, which is a 1/4 cup. Depends on how you like your sweetness. And I'm going to go ahead and add my cream. And we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of cream. Now there are several different ways you can do this. You can do this way and add the cream this way. You don't want to do cream. Get you some sugar-free Cool Whip. Mix your cream cheese, fold in your Cool Whip, and there you go. You have the same recipe. It might be a little bit fluffier. I could always just beat up the whipped cream on its own and fold it into the cream cheese and have it just as fluffy. I like it this way because it's a little bit more dense and it reminds me of a true cheesecake and not more of a whipped cream fluff. Now you can flavor this how you like. If you melt 4 ounces of chocolate and add it to it, you have chocolate cheesecake. We're going to be fancy. We're going to pipe it into our dish. Piping bag. Use a Ziploc bag. It works. I do it often. I do tell you to be careful when you use the Ziploc bags, because sometimes I don't know my own strength, and I will bust the bag, and then it'll come out the top and the sides and everywhere, and then you got a mess, which is not always a bad thing. Because remember, the cook that's in the kitchen gets to eat all the snacks. We call those foodie snacks. That's anything that didn't go into the actual dish itself. Foodie snacks. So on a spoon, you're filling into your bag. Get your dish. And then you can just pipe away into your dish. And there you are, cheesecake mousse. It's a delicious treat. It is low carb, low fat, bariatric friendly, good dish. To summarize what we've done today, in about 30 minutes, we've made a meal plus dessert. It's got plenty of protein, nice serving of vegetables, both inside the pot pie and out. You've got protein from the protein powder. You've got protein from your chicken, and you have some sweetness. So you hit all the umami, everything umami. You've got the crunch from the green beans. You've got the crunch from the crust. You've got the flavor from everything, because everything's flavorful, and you can be satisfied in 30 minutes. Thank you for coming and cooking with me today. I've enjoyed you, and we'll see you next time.